This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the HP ZBook 14U G6, meaning Generation 6. So obviously this is a refresh of their mobile workstation. They say this is the slimmest 14-inch mobile workstation on the planet. Not that there are a lot of 14-inch mobile workstations. It might be a little dull on the outside, but once you open it up and take a look at what it has to offer, it's actually pretty cool. We're going to look at it now. This video is sponsored by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing analytics, they're your one-stop source for building your online presence. So from the outside, the ZBook 14U looks like, well, your average 14-inch sort of businessy Ultrabook. It's understated, it's fine. If you want flashy, obviously HP has the Spectre and Spectre X360 lines for beautiful looks. It's not bad. Open it up and it looks pretty pedestrian, mostly because it has very big display bezels. So I was a little, oh. But then you take a look at what it has to offer and I'm like, you know, there's more. Beauty is just not everything when it comes to a laptop, is it? You have the option of getting a 600 nit 4K display, which we happen to have, and that's full Adobe sRGB coverage. It's a 14-inch Ultrabook that's pretty thin and pretty light, but yet you've got AMD Radeon Pro WX 3200 graphics inside. So that's mobile workstation graphics on the lower end side, because let's be real, it's a small 14-inch laptop. But still, we've got Thunderbolt 3 here. Not just that, but we have a lot of ports you usually won't see on a 14-inch laptop, including Ethernet, a micro SD card slot, HDMI 1.4b, optional 4G LTE on board. I'm like, okay, this is starting to get pretty interesting. So like most really small mobile workstations, this does not have your typical mobile workstation 45 watts, 6 or now even 8-core CPUs. It has the latest Intel 8th Gen Whiskey Leg 4-core CPUs inside, but it performs very well and it benchmarks significantly above some of the competitors with the same CPU inside. And that in part is because the cooling here is, let's put it this way, you got business class performance here going on. The cooling is very effective, so the chip is able to run at higher clock speeds for longer for very good performance on benchmarks and in real world stuff. So I'm starting to like this. The keyboard on it also is quite good. A lot of consumer Ultrabooks have compromised keyboards to make them so thin and all that sort of thing. You know, low key travel, not a lot of tactile feel. This one has a comfortable keyboard. I know they're going after the ThinkPad line particularly with this, and it's a different feel from a ThinkPad keyboard and a different design, obviously, but it's a very good feel to it, and I like it. And you've got a Microsoft Precision trackpad, and you have their version of the track pointer, razor stick pointer that Lenovo's been using on ThinkPads, just in case you happen to convert over from a ThinkPad. And while I'm not a big fan of that pointer stick kind of thing, I know some of you love it, and it seems to work fine to me. Business laptops typically are expensive. This one's not really too bad. A Core i5 with 8 gigs of RAM and a 256 gig SSD starts at around $12.99. If you want to really go to town and get a Core i7, the 4K display, you got your AMD graphics, that sort of thing, you can hit $2,000 with it. Obviously, if you're an IT shop, you might be getting discounts for volume buys and all that sort of thing. And if you're not an IT shop person, HP does have sales on their website. Again, because it's a business-oriented laptop, of course, you have a TPM 2.0, you have an optional fingerprint scanner, optional Windows Hello IR camera, HP's self-healing BIOS, something that I really like a lot, and BIOS Guard as well. And there's also an optional privacy screen if you want. So who is this laptop for? Obviously, it isn't meant to replace a 15 or 17-inch mobile workstation with much beefier graphics and CPUs inside. This is for business users who care about keyboard typing experience. This is also for those who are doing some 2D CAD work, maybe some web design work. Again, Excel. So that sort of thing. And speaking of web design, this video has been brought to you by Squarespace. Join the millions of photographers, small business owners, fitness instructors who've used Squarespace's one-stop, do-it-all platform for building a website, a business, an online presence, whatever it is you need to market or to show off to the world. They have domain name transfer and registration services. They have analytics. They have marketing tools. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/mobile tech review to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Now back to our review. So this is available with Core i5 and Core i7 CPUs, both the standard and the vPro editions of that, again, given as a business laptop. And that AMD Radeon Pro WX 3200 graphics, that's a 14-nanometer Polaris architecture for those of you who follow AMD GPUs. And they do gear it towards the mobile workstation crowd, not the gaming crowd so much. It's a shall we call it an entry-level dedicated GPU, and it's somewhere between NVIDIA Quadro 500 and 1000 card, so it is enough to amp up performance a bit if you are doing 2D CAD work, and maybe a little bit of Photoshop, obviously, that sort of stuff too. You can get anywhere from 8 to 32 gigs of RAM, which again is more mobile workstation-like. Most Ultrabooks top out at 16 gigs of RAM, which is nice. You get a fast M.2 NVMe SSD inside. That keyboard is backlit in white. Like I said, 4G LTE is optional with this, and you've got a smart card reader if you need it too. So when it comes to displays, there's a lowly entry-level model that always exists for IT departments on a budget, 250 nits Full HD. That's a matte display. There is a touchscreen option available if you want a touchscreen also in Full HD resolution. There's a privacy guard screen, which HP says is 950 nits. Oh my God, that would be interesting to see. But we got the 600 nit nominally 4K display. Again, full Adobe RGB coverage. The metrics on this in terms of color accuracy and tuning out of the box are actually pretty good. This is a nice looking display, and it's a matte display. Non-touch, sorry about that if you wanted a touchscreen, but boy, is that good. So obviously you've got the clarity here if you are doing things like working in AutoCAD or something like that, and you need to be able to see your designs up close and personal and without doing so much zooming. When it comes to webcam privacy, this is not like the HP Spectre X360 that has a little switch on the side of the laptop that controls the webcam. It's sort of going after the Lenovo ThinkShutter, but that one is really discreet. You really have to look for the little slider. This one, you really can't miss it. It's a big sliding piece of, yeah, right on the top of that large bezel. But it's there, so you know the webcam is physically blocked. Nobody can spy on you. The Bang & Olufsen up-firing speakers on this are really surprisingly good for a 14-inch business Ultrabook. They're pretty loud. They have reasonable bass. It's actually nice to listen to them. So how about battery life? We have a 50 watt-hour battery inside, which is pretty typical for an Ultrabook of this size, and a 65 watt fast charger on board. It's really going to depend on which display you get. Obviously, if you get one of the super high bright displays and you're running it at high brightness, well, you're going to tank your battery life. By the way, our 4K display actually has auto brightness enabled in the Windows settings, the Modern Charm settings. So if you're noticing it doesn't look that bright, that's why. You might want to turn that off and then adjust the brightness to suit yourself. But anyway, if you get the base model with a 250 nit Full HD display, I would imagine you should be able to do 8 hours easily, perhaps even 9. If you get the 4K display or that super bright privacy guard display, then depends how bright you're going to run it, but it could be as short as 6 hours, or if you're running it at low brightness, it will be higher. Also, if you're doing CAD on the go, unplugged, you're going to tank your battery life a lot faster than if you're just doing Word or Excel. Taking off the bottom cover isn't too hard. We have Phillips head screws, most of which you can see pretty easily, and there are screws here and here in the recessed holes, nothing over here. And this probably would be the keyboard drain holes, because this is a spill-resistant keyboard. So then you work the cover off, nice metal cover, and this is a nice sight to see, isn't it? Look at this. Little 14-inch Ultrabook that has 2 RAM slots. So yes, you can upgrade it yourself afterwards, or if RAM goes bad, you can replace it. Here's our M.2 NVMe SSD right there in the slot. If you went with the optional 4G LTE, the card would go right there, and these are the antenna leads that are pre-installed to connect to that, which is convenient. And here's our socketed Wi-Fi card, and you can get this with Intel 9560 AC Wi-Fi or the new generation Wi-Fi 6 Intel AX200 card. Sweet, that. Our fan right here with 2 heat pipes is doing a little bit of extra work because it's also cooling that low-end AMD Radeon Pro GPU. And there's our battery right there. And the speakers are up-firing. So that's the HP ZBook 14U G6. And you know what? It is a very good mobile workstation for the price. Now, as long as you don't confuse it with big, beefy mobile workstations that have 45 watts, 6 and 8 core processors, that is. But for something this thin and this light, the cooling is very good on this. The performance is very good if you keep your expectations in line with the kind of graphics it has, which means yes, it's good for 2D CAD work on the go. It's certainly you Excel spreadsheet jockeys, that sort of thing. The display on this, really nice. The ports on this, excellent. And I'll forgive the big bezels because just about everything else is actually quite good. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos. And after you do that, be sure to hit that notification bell so you actually know when we post a new video.